Sup guys, I figure we will kick this breakdown off with the motor, the heart of the beast. So as most people should know, I obviously run the LS7, which is basically really just the LS7 block now. So we run LS3 heads on it, and then internally we run a fully forged 441 stroker kit. So standard, they're 427. So what that means is we've got basically standard at 7 litre, now it's about 7.2, just over 7.2 litres, which obviously allows for a mountain of torque and a mountain of power. So it makes burning 235s really easy and seems to do it reliably. So that's why we've gone down this path. So I'll go over some of the aftermarket stuff on it and obviously the bolt-ons and stuff. So up top, we obviously run the Holley EFI high-rise manifold. With that comes the Holley fuel rails, and we run a 660cc injector, and obviously we run it on E85. And then yeah, there's obviously, I've got one engine bay filter over there, a fuel pressure gauge there, just so I can quickly check it at the track if I'm worried about it. And otherwise we also have a fuel pressure sensor which goes to the ECU and can monitor all that. Obviously we have a 102mm throttle body, and then filter, I have experimented with shorter, longer, all that stuff, and it doesn't really seem to make a difference. So we've gone with a mid-size one just for look's sake almost. I'm not really a big fan of the elbow and having them down here, just for more look's sake. I don't like a big elbow there. Obviously some pretty basic rocker covers that we've had modified for breathers. And then the water pump. We obviously run a rear mount radiator setup, and we use our water pump, our engine water pump, as our expansion tank. So it's all been gutted, there's nothing left there now. Obviously I don't even have the pulley on there. And so what we do, we've had this welded on with a cap on it. That acts as our bleeder whenever we're refilling the engine. And yeah, this obviously, the idea is this sits higher than the heads, and so it helps bleed air off. Obviously we run dash 20, so I've had my dash 20 stuff welded to that, and then yeah, that runs back. So that is purely on there as the expansion tank and the place for the pipes to go. Obviously I've ditched the power steering and stuff like that, so the only thing off the belt is actually the alternator. We've still run the same tension that would usually be over that side, but we've mounted it over here now, and it's super simple, super easy. Obviously run an Aeroflow relocation kit for the oil filter, oil cooler, and then yeah, obviously we have a T and an AccuSump line. So yeah, heads wise, it's the LS3 heads are pretty standard. Like I'm pretty sure the valves and stuff are standard. Obviously we run uprated twin springs and stuff, and I'm pretty sure even the rockers are standard, to be honest. From there we obviously, our headers, me and my old man made these a few years back when we first put in the Laurel. So these are the same headers that were in the Laurel. And yeah, we didn't adapt anything for the 14 really, we just made some floor changes. Obviously it might be hard, I'll put a light. So obviously our steering column's on this side, it gets real tight. We still have the starter motor on this side too. So all down among there somewhere, it gets super tight, super fiddly, but we seem to be all right. We haven't cooked a starter yet, and obviously our steering column still has clearance and stuff like that. It's just really fiddly to get this side out, the headers. From there, obviously our coils. I was never a big fan of running the coils on the motor. I just reckon it looks untidy. What I wanted the motor, you stand back and look at it, it's just simple motor, you can tell everything that's going on. But so I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of having them on the firewall either. I prefer to hide them somewhere completely, but it was just where we did it. From there, obviously we have custom leads, which is just you buy a lead kit and make them yourself, and they run down to each cylinder with obviously heat protectors again, because obviously my own fault when we made them. It's obviously too close to the spark plug leads and stuff like that, so the only thing I do get from time to time is I melt the odd spark plug lead, and but we have a kit on hand to just quickly make up another one if we have that drama. So yeah, obviously the engine itself is solid mounted down there, obviously, and the subframe and everything like that is actually the same subframe that was in the Lorel. So I just basically took the motor out of the Lorel, dropped it out, lifted it up into this one. And then from there we obviously had to modify the tunnel for gearbox clearance and stuff like that. So yeah, super reliable. Obviously it makes about, or it makes 400, just over 400 rear wheel kilowatts, and 700 and something newton meters of torque. So yeah, it's got plenty there, and it makes it, the torque curve, as you can imagine, is real flat. There's no big peak or anything, it's just real flat, real consistent. So it makes burning 235 super easy. And obviously if I wanted to chase more power, I could probably start with the heads, go with something aftermarket there, but 400 kilowatt 235s, I don't need any more. It does the job easy. So yeah, we're not too phased on power with this thing, but yeah. Funny story, here's an old piston I have. Check it out. So we actually rebuilt this motor 1.5 seasons ago, all because of this. And what happened was, it was human error. We had this throttle body apart, and when it put back together, we should have Loctited the little bolts that hold the butterfly in, and we didn't. And sure enough, one came out, went through the motor, and that was the end result. So yeah, 1.5 seasons ago we rebuilt this motor. Again, so we bought a brand new stroker kit out of Texas Speed in the States, and so that is obviously pistons, rods, crank, everything. They blueprint all of it over there, so it all just comes here ready to throw in the motor. And yeah, the boys down at the toy shed here in Rotorua rebuilt it for me. Like I say, it's still going strong now, no dramas with it. So yeah, the biggest thing I like about the LS is obviously, like I say, power and torque's good, but it just seems to be, and like touch wood, the reliability of it. This thing just loves smoking tires and just does it day in, day out with minimal dramas. I mean, the only failure I've ever had was human error, all because of that. So yeah, that sucked, but it is what it is. Like I say, we're strong now. It's actually like most race motors, sort of, there is preventative maintenance. So what I'm supposed to do, and I'll probably do at the end of this season, is pull it back out, go over it again, because obviously this is its second season now and I haven't really looked inside it, gone over it or anything. So yeah, they want you to go over it, because obviously wear and tear happens, and with stroker kits what can happen is, because the piston can come further out the bottom, it can cause premature skirt wear. And so if you look at this piston, is it going to focus? You can see cracks in these corners, on those two corners there. And yeah, a lot of that is, I've been told, is basically the abuse, but it's also just the premature wear that's caused. So obviously we've got to pull this motor apart again at the end of this season and just go over it, make sure everything's still all good. Anything like this, I might have to throw a set of pistons at it and just say a tease. If I have to throw pistons at it, I might go with low compression ones and we'll see what happens. But yeah, so that's the heart. So next up, I will try and work my way down the car. So we'll go clutch, gearbox, drive shaft, diff, and maybe I'll get into some of the supporting stuff for the engine. So ECU, radiator, and that stuff. Obviously, if you guys want to follow along more, like and subscribe. Obviously, all my platforms are Andy Donahue 23, so that's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So yeah, go and follow along. Cheers.